So we are going to be talking about our introduction now. If you are starting your introduction, then you have finished steps 1, 2, and 3. Step 1 is right here, and that was make a plot outline for the movie. If you were not here from the movie, you do not have that. That's fine. However, step 1 was to make a plot outline for the movie. Step 2 was to choose a prompt. Choose a prompt. You have 3 options. Choose a prompt was step 2. Step 3 was to actually write the body paragraph. Now, if you are ready to write your introduction, then you have turned in your body paragraph outline. Now, if you are done with that, then we're going to go to step 4 on this sheet, and we're going to look at that. Of course, right now, we are not doing our conclusion yet. So I'm going to just, for the sake of this video, I'm going to take all that and I am going to make the text color white because we are not there. So we don't need to worry about that at this moment. We are on step 4, write your intro paragraph. Now, there are 3 basic steps to the introduction paragraph outline. I go over them here briefly, but we're going to use our graphic organizer to really get it done. So in order to do this, we have this tiny URL right here. Now, how tiny URLs work is you type them in exactly as you see them. So right here, this whole thing, I'm going to type this in. I'm highlighting it so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. This yellow graphic organizer link, which I just highlighted, is what I'm going to type in. It says graphic organizer link, and I'm going to type that in. It says tiny URL, so I'm literally typing that in, tinyurl.com/ and then it covered it up. That's genius. /y8wn /y8wn. Oops, I typed that in wrong, so I'm fixing that. Y8wn JNVF. I'm just typing exactly as I see it. And then I'm going to press enter, and it's going to take me there. Now, this is our graphic organizer. You should already recognize this because we've used this for the body paragraph. However, this graphic organizer also has our introduction. Now, for our introduction, there are 3 parts. You know what a hook is. We've done it before. A hook just grabs our attention. Now, there are 2 options for every type of hook, a statistic or a quote. The statistic may not make sense for this because we're talking about a book. So, for example, I suggest the quote you look for should connect to what you're going to talk about. If you're going to talk about how the cowardly lion gains courage, maybe you can find a quote from any famous person about courage, because you're going to talk a lot about courage later on. So that kind of gives us a hint and gets us excited to hear about courage. If you're going to talk about a particular scene, then maybe you can find a quote that gets us excited about that scene. So that's what I suggest you do for hook. Now, of course, our source is going to be the person who says it. You're probably not going to do a statistic. However, the source could be the person who said the quote. So we're doing this because we need to cite our source. We need to say we need to give credit to the person who originally said it. And we have to add our quotation marks. After we say, according to this person, we add our quotes. That's what I'm doing right now. The second part, you have your hook, you've got our attention, is to introduce the story. Now, our introduction's biggest job is to introduce the story. If you do that well, then your intro is going to be awesome. So for our story, to introduce our story, we're going to just talk about what is going on in general. We're going to give some background and just introduce the Wizard of Oz. So in order to do that, we're going to use this sentence frame right here next to introduce the story. This is where we summarize the entire book. So main character, who's the main character of Wizard of Oz? You're going to put her name right here. The main character wants, what does the main character want the most? That is basically This is the problem going through the entire book. The main character, who's the main character from The Wizard of Oz? And what is the biggest thing that she wants, that she's working hard to get throughout the whole book or movie? But something happens. There's a problem. She can't get what she wants right away. Why can't she get what she wants right away? There's a problem. What's her problem? And so, how does she fix things? So, in the end, this is what happens. So, someone wants something, but there is a problem that gets in the way. So, this is what ends up happening. That's how we're going to summarize the story. We're going to summarize the whole story in order to give background. Then we're going to move on to our thesis. You all know what a thesis is. Our thesis for a literary analysis is going to talk about basically what your claim says. You already know what your claim says. You've already written it. And you're basically going to write it up here again. So in title of the work, so in The Wizard of Oz by Frank L. Baum, the character you're talking about meets the challenge of something in Oz during, well, we don't really know the time. So you may just say in Oz period, and that would be fine. If in your essay you're going to talk about Scarecrow, then this would look different. You would say in The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, Scarecrow meets the challenge of blank. What is your essay going to talk about Scarecrow? Are you going to say meets the challenge of gaining confidence in his intelligence? Of course, you're not allowed to say exactly how I said it, but tell me in your words what problem he's facing and what you're going to be talking about in Oz, period. If you're talking about the Cowardly Lion, then you could say in The Wizard of Oz by Frank L. Baum, the Cowardly Lion meets the challenge of learning how to be brave in the land of Oz, period. If you choose prompt B asks you to pick one thing that happens and compare and contrast it, what happens in the book to the movie for that one particular event. So then if you chose prompt B, you would say in The Wizard of Oz by Frank Baum, instead of a character, you're going to talk about the place. So in The Wizard of Oz by Frank Baum, one thing that is different between the book and the movie is blank. Tell me the event. And for C, you're just going to tell us what your theme is. If you chose to talk about theme, then where it says what's the problem, you're just going to tell us what the theme is. So in The Wizard of Oz by Frank Baum, Dorothy, the main character, meets the challenge of learning, and then you're going to say your theme in the land of Oz. And that's what our thesis is. Our thesis is a fancier way of stating our claim. You've already written your claim, so now you're going to take that and just make it a little fancier. And that's it. That is pretty much everything that's in our introduction. And this document is linked to in the paper that I handed out. This is the graphic organizer that we've been looking at this whole time. So yeah, that's basically what it is that we're going to be doing.